If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. We are really excited. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about relationships. So something that in all of my years with Nirmala, probably the majority of our conversations always come back to the relationships in my life and the dynamics of them, be them with family, with, my boyfriend, with people I work with. And that's the fruit of life. I mean, everything is this connection we have with others and the interaction we have with others. And so geometrically speaking and looking at the geometry of, I think about it almost as like the personality of a person is their predominant geometry. You can definitely correct me where I'm wrong there, Nirmala, but that's how I kind of see it. And understanding that flow between two people and how and why people come together and maybe why things aren't flowing. That's what we wanted to talk about today. Just give some insight into relationship and those dynamics. Right, Nirmala?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for that, Daniel. It was a short, but yeah. Anyway, you are very good in describing things the way it is. Yeah, thank you. Now, hi, everyone. Today I just wanted to bring up the topic about relationship. In the last few days or few weeks, I think that's the kind of clients that I'm getting. So I thought maybe we can engage with something and something that you can resonate with, and maybe you can throw in some questions after this podcast, and then we can answer your questions. Yeah. So as all of you know, that I relate everything to sacred geometry. So everything is in the point of view of sacred geometry, right? So in relationship, when you say relationship, it's not just husband and wife and partners, siblings relationship, parents relationship with pets. Yeah, everything is kind of encompassed into it. And whenever I look at relationship, the sign of the sacred geometry flower of life always comes into that picture. Amazingly. So because it's just one part of your life that you're working on at on that print when you're looking at a flower of life. So how the flower of life now connecting to the others and every sector of your life coming through together. And then there's a bigger flower of life that I look at it in a very 60 level. And that is bringing the spiritual components of every lifetime that you're going in. So it keeps expanding bigger and bigger. Now, to make it small, just focusing on one thing at a time, I'm just going to talk about earthly relationship here. If not, the whole topic will expand, right? If you want to learn so much about flower of life, of course, you can come into my workshop. Maybe I will spend 3 hours talking about just flower of life, maybe. Yeah. So sacred geometry is the key, right? It's the key, and it's a skillful action. That means sacred geometry is always in the move. It's like it's a shift. It's an energy that's always around you, moving, always there, right? It's about, how do I say? It's about we all are just a biochemical program, right? So from a physical body of consciousness, we're just a biochemical program. So for us to touch and say, all right, this is the point I'm going to work on, then it stops right in front of you. And that's how I see it. That's how I view sacred geometry. All right. Even the word sacred geometry doesn't make, everything is sacred. About geometry, everything is sacred. I don't even have to say the word, because when somebody's speaking to you, there's a huge geometry that's happening within them from their heart, and from their physical body, vital body, and their mental body. So I can see the movements that's happening in them. So it's like when you go into diving into water, the wave that just comes in front of you, and that's the type of things that I visualize. That's what I see. So from my view, when I'm looking at that, I can understand there's always a shuffling when it comes to relationship. There's always shuffling. Yeah. You want this one moment, and then when you have it, you find that that's not what I want. Yeah. And it happens to everyone. Everybody's like that. I mean, again and again, it's a human nature. You go to a fruit store, grocery shopping, and you get some fruits, and then you come back on the way, I should have got another, instead of just apples, I should have got some bananas. Yeah. So when it comes to relationship, I see a lot of that happens in people where they look at one thing and then they go for it because at that very moment, that is exactly what they wanted. All right. That is exactly what they wanted. And they go for it all the way. And then once they have it in their hands, it becomes another thing, right? Until the cloth is hanging in a hanger in a shopping center, it is like the attraction is there. The minute you put it on, you will start making so much adjustments to it, and you find that when I looked at it over there, it looked so beautiful, so sparkly, whatever it is. The design was so attractive. The cotton was so comfortable. But when I'm wearing it, it's not comfortable. It's not, the color is not attractive. Relationship is the same. Yeah. Because the minute you wear it, you're understanding what you're wearing right now. Yeah. And that understanding is very important. Nothing is going to be perfect in this world until your mind is so content. I mean, so in your mind, you make it perfect. Yeah. And sometimes when I say that, even with the clothing, you can make adjustments. If it's too big, you make it. You can adjust it. If it's too tight, you can loosen it. You can make adjustments. Yeah. So just like that in relationship, there's always going to be adjustments, because you are going into this relationship in a purpose. It's part of your journey. You have already contracted. You've already come to an agreement that you're going to be in this relationship for this purpose. Yeah. Whether the purpose is going to be for a lifetime, not necessary.
Right.
Not necessary. Having that relationship and going through the experience is what is relevant. And what you are learning from this experience is what is relevant.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was talking about the flower of life, and I have to get my board. So just
Yeah.
give me a
Well,
second.
I was showing it. You were kind of talking, but I was showing it here. I have this, which is
Oh, beautiful. There you go. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautiful. I thought, is she going to try and draw this? Because that's going to be difficult to do.
Now, I'm not going to draw, I'm not going to completely draw a flower of life. I'm just going to show the grids of the flower of life, right? You know that the flower of life have the 9 points and 12 points. I'm not going to do that. That's completely something that I have to train you to do. Okay, so what I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to show you just a simple example of having 4, just like a flower petal, right? Flower of life, yeah? Just like a flower petal. Okay, even my circles doesn't come. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see there are points that's attached in that space. So there you are going through a sequence. Can you see it, or is it okay, Daniel?
Perfect. You got it. Yeah.
So we are talking about relationship. Yeah. So in relationships, there's few things that we are looking at. There you have now entered that portal. All right. And portal is like you're entering a dimension. Okay, so you are in a 3D dimension. You are in the 3D dimension, so beautiful that it can bring in the other dimensions to you. So only in this space you can bring in. It's not like when I say 4 for 5 for 6 dimension. I keep repeating this in a lot of sessions and in a lot of podcasts again and again, mainly because the third dimension is the existence of your experience, and the fourth and fifth dimension is something that you bring in within yourself from your consciousness. Yeah, it's not, people always think that we have to get there. It's nothing about getting there. It's inviting it into you. It's the expansion of your light. Okay, all right. So that's where you go into the fourth and fifth. Going into relationship, it's also entering a dimension. Yeah, for a long period of time, you have been a single person. All right. So, it can be so many scenarios. Or you have been, you quickly went into a relationship, but there's a period of time where childhood and in your teenage years and all that, you had an experience, and you always had this beautiful intention of having the right partner by yourself, having these beautiful intentions that somebody's going to come in and you're going to have this lovely, beautiful life of yours that's going to be so much serene, and all these dreams and everything that you have. Nothing wrong about it. Of course, all of us have dreams. Yeah. Doesn't matter how old you are. You can have that in 16, you can have it in 30, you can have it in 40, you can have it in 70. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Because we come here with desires, right? So we have desires, So when you come into that, when I'm talking about desires and relationship, the minute you find a relationship and you say, okay, that is a relationship. I'm not talking about what's going to happen in the future. At that very point, you are going into the depth of moving into the circle of that dimension. You're flowing into that dimension. And what is it then the flow of dimension? Love. Yeah. So you're going into the flow of dimension, and what you're seeing is completely is love. So you are representing love, and somebody is now connecting. What is love is like? It's like it's like this. Yeah. Something has been, it's like looking at a silver thread that's just flowing, looking and looking, and suddenly that silver thread comes along, and then they start to entangle. Just imagine that. A silver thread and silver thread just entangle together. So when that happens, when that happens, you are going through that process of going through that beautiful expansion of love. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Then you take the relationship and then you walk into this space. The flower of life has got all geometries within it. The flower of life, there's going to be 9, it's going to be 12 and 21 above it. So it has got all the geometries within it. So if you see a flower of life, it has got everything in that space. And just a second. Just like that what Daniel was showing earlier. All right. So it's got all the circles, and you can see within that circles, it's got within the circles, you can see all the beautiful triangles that's happening within it. Within that, you can see the squares as well. All right. So all the geometry is within the flower of life. Okay. So you cannot miss that. All right. So in the flower of life, you are kind of bringing in everything together. All right. Every part about you, everything that you have you've been thinking about you is all going to come together, because it has been created. It's a creative space. It has been completely building up. So it's a building up of all your sequence of your love, your feelings, your taste, your vision. Everything is inside here right now. So there you go into a relationship. All right. So when you go into a relationship, what does happen is that now two people come to know each other, and then they walk into it. So it's like when we are looking at a flower of life, okay, it's like a blueprint of creation. So you are creating, you are in the creative field. So your heart is expanding, you're so much in love, and all this creative field, you're not worried about anything. Does anybody go into love signing a contract that you have to provide this for me, you have to do this? I don't know, maybe some cultures might, but what I'm saying is that in actual fact, in reality, when you fall in love, the first thing you go in is the physical body of consciousness, right? The physical space that you look at the person, you fall in love with that person. And then the mental space comes in, because you start communicating with them. You understand that there's something about them that's different. Why is it different? It's because the opposite always attracts. Yeah. So you're going into a space where the person is not exactly like you, but he's something different. And that always attracts people, right? Now, the flower of life, as I said, is a blueprint of a creation. It is a sacred symbol that represents mighty concept of physical representation of the connection with all things in the universe. Yeah. So it relates, it kind of attracts, it kind of communicates in very physical level. Flower of life will allow you to do that. Yeah. So why they call it a flower of life? Look at the flowers. So when you see the flowers started blooming, who's not attracted to it? Even for a fact that even if you're not going to take it and put it in a vase and leave it in your dining table or whatever it is, anybody's looking at it, or even looking at the structure of how it starts blooming, you'll stop for a second and start observing it. Yeah, it's a physical attraction. It's a physical representation. Okay, so when someone is going into a relationship, these are the two things that happen. They're completely in love. They're completely trusting that journey. That's the wonderful thing about it. Not always trusting the journey. I know there's a lot of this thing, but the relationship tax in when there's a little bit of this has to be opened. All right. So it's like a silver thread now flowing from here beautifully. Imagine this is silver, and he's saying, this is a relationship. This is what I want. And then he walks in, Some people have a lot of expectations. Some people say, I'm going to go with the flow. Some of them say, I'm going to give it a try. And some will say, why not? I got, I'm lonely. I just have someone in my life. Whenever you do that, It's not you're just doing it at the purpose. It's a contract that you already been had an agreement. So you have already had this contract before you were even born. All right. So always understand that it's a contract that you had an agreement with, that you're going to go in, fall into that space and have that experience. You went into that for that experience. I know that it's not always a beautiful, princess or queen king story. I know that. But don't forget, you came here for a worldly experience, right? A human experience. And this is part of your experience. Yeah. When I have clients, I'm just putting this very general about relationship and love. I've got so many clients coming relationship issues. Is either there's no understanding that could be fixed, or there is a reason there is understanding, but they need to be separated. Okay, it is okay. Agreement, as I said, that we all come under a contract. The agreement is done. That's the reason, no matter how hard you're trying, it's not working. Either party, one of you is just falling apart, is because the contract is not agreeable anymore. Right? On those days, we were always taught, our generations, everything has been changed, and Daniel's generation has changed, and then the younger generations, younger than Daniel's, has changed as well. When we look at our great-great-grandparents or grandparents, when we look at them, they all has been kind of programmed that marriage means is forever. Yeah, which is beautiful, because that means there's a lot of they learn to compromise and sacrifice and make it work. Okay, so they did a lot of that. But interesting enough, when we come and kind of look at it and do a little bit more, there was a lot of agreement that they had between the male and female, right? So they had a lot of agreement within the partners or whatever partners they are. They always had this agreement that they can meet somewhere in the middle. They always had this, that they wouldn't come out of the circle. They stayed within the circle. They made sure that everything's done. My question is, how far or how much they have compromised, or how much they have sacrificed, or were they happy doing it? But this relationship was happy. When we look at, we know that our grandparents, they had a beautiful life. They showed, so much of love, and they were so much committed, and there was so much happening. And yet there were some grandparents that, within our circle, we have also seen that they were like, crabs, always climbing on each other and clawing each other and fighting with each other. Even in the elderly age, they can't go into an agreement with them. Yeah, so we have seen that. So as life goes by, we are going to a reset. As I said, things are changing. We are no longer the same we don't have the same personality or character. We don't use the same integration like what we did in the past, right? So when integration comes in, there's something new comes in. Yeah. So the next generation changed a little bit, and then the next generation. So until to the point right now, the type of clients I see when they're having a relationship issues is that is most of the time is somebody wanting something and somebody is unable to give something. It's always the case. All right. So that could be anything, emotions, physical, it can be spiritual, anything, right? So we can go into the factor of being physical expectations, or emotional expectations, or spiritual expectations, right? So it can be any of this, right? So we have to understand, when you are into this space, it's not like you're locked in. It's not like you're locked in. You are going into a relationship because you want to be happy. You want to hold this person's hand and live your life incomplete, right? When I say incomplete, means I'm not saying being in a palace, a king and queen status, even they had a miserable time. But what I'm saying is that it's going to be a lot of learning. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of learning and understanding and acceptance. You have to accept a lot of things that previously you wouldn't be in agreement. So this is their first lesson that starts. Whoever the partner is a great teacher to you right now. Okay, So you cannot hold this by judgment, but you have to now go by a specific rhythm in this relationship to see, okay, so this is where I'm standing, this is who I am, and I have to understand the person beyond my understanding. All right, so this is where I say you have to understand the person beyond their understanding. Yeah, so it's like you going inside their geometry to understand them beyond their understanding. Yeah, so you're going inside the geometry to understand them. That means you are kind of now going into that person. This is another phrase is like you have to wear their shoes, right? You start wearing their shoes to see how it feels now, being that person. So what is not working and what is working? Somebody has to be in a higher consciousness to do this assumption. If two persons are at the same brain levels, same level of their emotions and start conflicting, it's never turned out to be good. It's not going to be great. Yeah, we cannot have any problems that comes in and then we say, no, that's fine. I'm going to let it go. You let it go. We're not going to talk about it. And then they move on. There are some relationships very good in doing it. And what happens is there's always a conflict in one of these areas. That means they already been accepted that this is what we're going to do. We are going to let go of one of it. Always happens. Okay. Do you have a question for that, Daniel?
Yeah, I might just want you to like reframe, say that in a different way. So one of those aspects is always not going to work out in a relationship, or why do you have to drop one?
No. What I meant is that, okay, not that one of the one is not going to work out in the relationship. One of you within the relationship, if both of you are in a very much in the high conscious level, you would be able to understand each other so clearly, right? But in most relationships, one party will understand the other person more than the other party.
Okay.
They will go beyond to understand that party very well. All right. So that partner very well, because even though everyone might be blaming or saying something is wrong, the other party knows where is the perspective of this partner is coming from.
Right.
In how many times in a relationship we have seen that, in a family situation, somebody's blaming or pointing fingers or whatever, straight away one of the partner will go next to that person and say, that's not exactly, I know him too well, or I know her too well, that's not exactly what she meant.
Right.
You get what I mean? And then one of them would be very comfortable, that they understand no matter what I do, he will understand or she will understand. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm saying that one will be kind of very much standing and holding the space as I'm inside the box. My partner always know how to dive into my box and save me. Always happens, right? So that's the part of learning I'm saying. So I'm not saying it's a good thing to go in and always support and do things all the time. Sometimes you have to teach them how to come out of their comfort zone to be experiencing, things as well. So when I speak about this in general terms, it kind of going everywhere. So let me kind of give you a little bit of scenario of one of my case study that happened a few days ago. Okay, so these couples had beautiful people. Both of them doing very much in a beautiful journey when it comes to their career. They're doing very well. They've got 2 children. Everything's going beautifully, but it seems like one of the partner is always feels like he or she is being misled to do something that he or she doesn't want to do, right? And there's always something is missing from the other side, the other partner. There's an assumption that that's the way it's meant to be. So what is happening here? Straight away, communication. There's a lack in communication. Yeah, there's no communication happening between both of them, so they don't have the understanding that she doesn't like doing this or he doesn't like doing this. And same thing over here, that the other partner is not reciprocating in the same way that this person is trying to interact. That means they're not in the same space. All right. there's a bit of a mental body that's taking over this space, and this partner is taking over in another space. So I find that communication was the breakdown over here. Nothing else. Simple as that, communication, right? So bringing them together, making them sit and then say what they have to say, it kind of, the other partner said, why didn't you tell me this? Sometimes it's as simple as that, just to tweak a little bit and that's it's done. Why? I never heard, and there, I'm going to say A and B. So A is saying, I've been repeating this so many times, how long we've been together. I've been saying this so many times, but you've not been listening. And then B says, how come I'm listening right now? It's not even a problem. That means I've never heard it. Okay. So one of the party must have been doing a lot of calls and talking. The other party is always about listening. So they always have this shutdown. And this happens in elderly people all the time. The older people, the older generation always have it. One party will be talking, the other party is just kind of putting the fact that it's listening, but it's not listening, because this is a daily thing. So and for some couples it's fantastic. It doesn't bother them, even for the fact the other partner will know I'm talking. I know that this A is not listening. It doesn't matter. I say what I have to say, and I'm going to go right. But in these couples, they were very young children, and this is annoying A. So now A steps in and says that actually this is what I meant, and B says that is easy done. I can do that. It's not a problem. But B also has got concerns that A is not paying attention to B. Yeah. So because A is so much, sometimes in the relationship we all do that. OCD, being everything has to be in the place where it's meant to be. Everything has to be organized. Everything has to go. All the tick 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 is there, except for time for B. Okay. And because they are young, most of the young couples, what they do, they go into this building, this beautiful house, and having the perfect place for the children, and the city life or whatever it is. But I don't know what young people nowadays want. Everybody's different, but so they go into that. So she's so much into that, into making sure everything is okay at home, everything is fine, everything is moving, everything is kind of surfacing. Our children are very next to a school. We got a house now next to the school that, there's the best school in the community, everything. Yeah. So it becomes very much, I don't use the word, but it becomes very material living. That means they forgot about there's 3 things that's still waiting for them over there. They forgot to represent that. They go more into this. Of course, there's an emotional space when it comes to material as well. So then the question came to A. So how do you spend time with B? Oh, because when we are together, we are spending time. We're having coffee together. We're having dinner together. We do bedtime stories with children together. I said, okay, it still doesn't answer my question. So are you spending time with me? So it's again a simple break. You can be doing this and that because we are in the world as such, right? And a lot of people, young people, are still doing it. Even older people are doing it. That always going into bigger houses, always into rebuilding, doing something different, always into that, because it's motivation. It motivates them. They find that that's what is exciting them, so they keep going into that. But the thing is that it's nothing wrong about it. If that's your journey, that's your desire, fabulous, just do that. But don't stuck to that and forget that you both came in here together in this. Don't leave that out. That is part of that, being with some person, being together with some person, spending time is very important in a relationship. We cannot just walk away from that, right? So like getting away, once a month, we can do that, bi-monthly, just, or if you can't do that, okay, fine, 2 months once, go out of the way, move away from where you are. I'm not asking you to travel, get a plane, drive somewhere, take time with the family, take time, to just sit there, not thinking about work, not thinking about house, not thinking about families, not thinking about what to cook or anything, throwing everything away, just being in that space. if in relationship, if people can take time to do these sort of things, simple things can be justified. Simple things just move forward. Yeah. This is for a simple way of saying, with this client, it works. It doesn't work for every couples, not always. Yeah. So going into the core and finding out where they're sitting within the petal of life, because the next thing I'm going to say, do we have time, Daniel? Because I think I've described this for quite a period of time. Do you have time?
Depends on how long we want to go. Yeah, I think we're probably at around 30 minutes now.
Okay, I'll try to be quick on this one. Okay, so then we are moving from this space into moving into the next one, right? So sometimes relationships, like I also have a client who had the terrible marital relationship where she took off. She said that she can't do this anymore because of the type of abuse that was coming. Was not physical abuse, but emotional abuse. Yeah. And she said that she can't do it, she can't handle it, and then she felt trapped in that relationship. She's felt trapped, like there's holes in the relationship, that she said that this part is not going to work. Now, as always, I say, this is part of your experience that you came in for. You are not, you have to learn from this experience, make a decision, not always to shift, but always learn how you're going to go about. If you've tried everything and you're not happy in the relationship and you find that this is kind of draining you and it's mentally, you don't know where to move or what to do, you're supposed to get help. Yep. Within this circle, if you're staying within this circle, there will be a point that we can be able to help. If the other party, B, is not allowing you to go into getting help, I would say it's time for you to shift. All right. Not every couples, not everybody is the same. It goes from relationship to relationship, individuals to individual. Yeah. So it's about making things work. It's not about to work so that you can now accommodate that person. Making things to work for you to now expand the horizon of your experience. Yeah. So when you expand your experience, you find that, oh no, that's not a big trouble. That's that's not a big thing. That's not a big issue. It's in my head I created this a big issue. But when I say it's a big issue, that means you're not even wanted, or you're not even existing in that space. You're always pushed to the corner. I've seen few relationships that was like that, right? So only needed and pull in when it's needed, right? And then there was a lot of abuse was going in that relationship. Now, when I'm saying it's time for you to shift to the next dimension, next space of your life, next stage of your life, however you want to take it. I'm not saying that you're doing it for you. You're also doing it for the other person. Don't forget, because when you shift, you are helping the B to start learning. You're helping B to identify and understand what was lacking. Because if there's a lacking, and then you're going to completely concentrate and focus on the lacking, you'll be working in and out your whole lifetime. Nothing's going to change. And two parties can go into an agreement by going into the center and saying, okay, this is what we need to do, communication again. If they were to do that, then there's an existence. But if things are not working and you're not existing in that relationship, which I see in geometry, this is somebody holding someone in that space of geometry. But it's a very interesting space where I can see a lot of fear, a lot of hiding, and a lot of scattered space. They'll be within a scattered space. And within that scattered space, I find it very difficult to locate the geometry. I will see the geometry very much within, like in the ocean, and where you can see, if you throw a ball in the ocean, how you can see. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes not visible. That happens. The minute I see something like that, that means it's not. And I don't give them decisions. I don't make decisions for them. They have to make their own decisions, definitely. But my job is to show them where they're going, what is happening to them. Can they lift themselves up? Because this geometry is actually meant to be out here, up here, that I'm able to see. I can see in the surface level, there's a huge vortex that's moving in and out. There's a sphere that's moving, and there's so much things need to happen, but they are not reachable. They're very much in a higher space like this. I don't like it when I see things very further away where they can reach it, especially when they're drowning. When I see that, I find it's a serious condition, serious situation. Sometimes I have to even refer them to other practitioners, medical doctors as well. So when you look at this sort of condition situations, I always find in my view, in my vision of the geometry, especially when I see the spheres away from them, this person has to be now pulled out, somehow have to be pulled out, because there's a risk of a lot of things going to happen to them if they don't pull themselves out. Yeah, yeah. So these are just few of the scenarios that I can share with you when I look at things. But the most important thing is that when it comes to love, it has to be physical, it has to be emotional, it has to be spiritual. All the bodies of consciousness have to come together. Yeah, it has to be completely in this space, like we're holding hands together. Yeah, when you're holding hands, the other hand can be bigger than yours, then might be smaller than yours. That's the difference, that it has to come together. All right, it cannot be perfect. Yeah, but about the understanding the relationship is what is important. And the flower of life is the best unit that it shows you. And then when we're talking about relationship, we can keep going and going. Maybe in the next episode, I can share a little bit more about relationship, about other types of relationship that might come into the factor as well. Might not be exactly like this, but also falls in the same category. All right. So I hand it over to you, Daniel. Sorry, I took a little bit longer because relationship is a huge topic. And yeah.
Yeah, that was full. That was a ton. I think that this is going to have to be a series because I am filled with questions with what you just shared. I think this sets the stage for some incredible conversations. So everyone come back, put your questions below. Relationships are a huge thing. They're a part of literally it's a part of everything in our life, from relationships with our partner, which is what we focused on today, but there's also family dynamics. Obviously, I'm curious also about with our animals, and then work. There's so many different relationships we have. So I'm going to save my questions so that we can dive into them in our next talk. And I will just close out with everyone in saying, welcome to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. We're grateful for you for tuning in. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. And until next time, have a beautiful day.